The LEAP engine is certainly one of the most important engines ever developed by GE and its partner Safran. In fact, it might be the most important engine in this early century already. The LEAP engine is the fastest selling commercial engine ever. And it's a story of great commitment and courage by the two partners. As you enter the 21st century, there was already great anticipation over what would be the next power plant for new generation narrow-body airplanes. Because you think about it, without question, the most produced jetliners for the airline world are the 737 and the A320. So for GE and its partner Safran, the next generation engine for those airplanes is absolutely critical. By 2005, Pratt & Whitney made it very clear that they were interested in pursuing their own engine for the next generation of narrow-body aircraft. And they were going to compete directly with an offering from CFM International. And by 2006, 2007, the rhetoric was pretty loud. Now, granted, Airbus and Boeing had not committed yet to new airplanes, but it was obvious that was going to have to happen. And the stakes are huge in the narrow-body world. You want to be a player. In 2008 is when GE and Safran would sit down at the Dorchester Hotel and launch three game-changing things. Our leader, David Joyce, had been in the job for all of 2 weeks as president and CEO of GE Aviation. And he teamed with his leadership in France at Safran. They announced the new LEAP engine, which we'd been working on privately for years and years. He announced that we're going to work together on services. He also announced the extension of the CFM International partnership all the way to 2040. Now, this was extremely important, and I think at the time was underestimated. It was part of a brilliant strategy, because remember at that time, 2008, GE and Safran through CFM were competing head-to-head in the narrow-body aircraft world against a company called International Aero Engines. It was a consortium of Pratt & Whitney, MTU, Rolls-Royce, and an aerospace company, a consortium of Japanese producers. They were competing directly against CFM. There was a dispute within the International Aero Engines group as to what type of technology to pursue. Pratt & Whitney was dead set on what they call the geared turbofan system. It's a front fan with a geared system to it and allows some unique technologies and flexibilities. GE and Safran had opted not to pursue a geared turbofan. We had run turbofan demonstrators in the past. We felt we had the thermo efficiency in our engine concepts, not to add this additional complexity of a geared fan. So when David Joyce announces that we're going to continue to 2040 as a partnership, in a way it's a shot across the bow at the International Aero Engines Company, because there was dispute about what their next generation of engine was going to look like. And Pratt is out there publicly saying that we're going to do a geared turbofan system. So it was very important to David Joyce that his customers understood that CFM International was there for the long haul. Not only are they there for the long haul, they were going to do services together, and they were going to launch a LEAP engine in 2008 without an aircraft even defined. This was an amazing moment, and yet it was still very challenging for us. In 2011, Airbus launches the A320neo. It's essentially an A320 with a new engine offering. And they launch it with Pratt & Whitney with its geared turbofan. And Pratt takes a pretty dramatic lead in those early days of 2011 with its new engine. But CFM International enters the Paris Air Show in 2011 and has an extraordinary week. We literally sell over 900 engines in one day. The LEAP engine is firmly established now on the A320neo. Some of our most reliable customers from the past, like AirAsia and others, launched the LEAP engine, and now we're in the game going head-to-head against Pratt & Whitney's geared turbofan with our LEAP engine. The world has to notice that CFM is clearly back in the game. We were the world leaders with the CFM 56, and now we're going to be leaders again with the LEAP engine. A month later, Boeing does something extraordinary. Boeing had been wrestling with whether to go with a brand new design on their 737 or opt with a more conservative approach, which was a re-engined 737. Well, with the A320neo selling the way it was, dramatically across the world, that influenced Boeing's decision to say we're going to go for a re-engined 737. And because David Joyce and the team at Safran had the foresight to be very mindful of the size of the front fan of that LEAP engine. Remember, the strength of that engine in many ways is that thermodynamic efficiency. We didn't need the big fan and the big gear to power that thing. We were able to make an offering on the Boeing 737 re-engine program, which did not require new landing gear. We were able to meet all the technical requirements that they had called for, and we secured a sole source deal on that program. What an extraordinary summer of love for the CFM program in 2011. They launched on the Airbus A320, they surpassed Pratt & Whitney on the program, then they have a sole source on the 737 MAX, and of course this has been joined by the previous launch of the COMAC C919, the new narrow body in China. We've got 3 solid players on this LEAP engine, and the orders would continue to come in for years and years. The LEAP is just a very impressive engine. Safran has introduced a carbon fiber blade and case system that's quite unique. Our compressors like none other in the world. We have ceramic matrix composite parts in the high pressure turbine. There's just so many unique technologies in the LEAP engine from front to back that this program now has had a tremendous service entry. And we have surpassed Pratt & Whitney for the number of engines in service, even though they started a year ahead of us. So again, a classic example of this partnership that GE has with its leaders at Safran. I think we also owe David Joyce, our leader at GE, a tremendous amount of credit for his vision during that period of time to ensure the airline customers knew that CFM was going to be very viable long-term and to make a commitment to some pretty exciting new technologies. And this is a program that's going to anchor our commercial future for many, many decades.